Glenn, why don't you give us your name, your full name, where you were born, and then give us the names of your parents and your mother's maiden name.
Well, my name is Glen H Skenandore.
Your middle name? Middle name?
My middle name is Henry.
Okay.
My father's name is Henry, and my mother's name was Catherine Cornelius Skenandore.
Did your dad have a middle name?
No, not that I know.
Okay.
Never used initial.
Okay. What was the date of your birth?
9/4/35, September 4th.
And where were you born?
I was born in the town of Osborne, known as Freedom right now.
Were you born at home?
I'm not sure. I think we were, though.
Okay. Tell me the names of your brothers and sisters, if you can remember.
Well, my brothers are living, and I got Norbert, Clarence, and Minnie. That's my sister. Then I got Larry, Gordon, and Gerald.
Now, can you remember the names of your grandparents?
On my father's side was Gene Carpenter Skenandore, and my grandfather's name was Henry Skenandore. And on my mother's side was Catherine Skenandore, Catherine Cornelius Skenandore, and my father's name was Jefferson Cornelius.
You mentioned one of your grandmothers was maiden name was Carpenter?
Yeah, she was from Clintonville. She was Irish.
Irish.
Full-blooded. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe that might have been. I heard there might some Brotherton or I thought that maybe from Clintonville way. Now tell me where home was at when you can remember.
Well, what I remember is where I lived in this De Pere address all my life, at the same place where I am now. In 6340, County H, in West De Pere.
Or is that up by Chicago Corners?
That's by Chicago Corners. That's where I went to school to.
Okay, was the home.
That was the home
place that you can remember?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, tell me about your dad. What kind of work did your dad do?
Well, he was a retired plumber. He had 34 years at plumbing, and then he done farming. Us kids took care of the farm while he was working.
Where did he work in his plumbing trade at the time?
He worked
pretty
for
skilled, wasn't it?
He was skilled, yeah.
Did he
worked
go to
for
school
Nans
for that?
Country.
Did he go?
No, that was on the job training.
On the job?
Yeah, on the job training.
Okay.
Yeah, he worked there. In the winters, he was off. Then he had chickens and rabbits and to take care of.
Do you know where your dad went to school?
He went to Haskell. He mentioned, and he lived with some Catholic people. I'm not sure where.
Okay. What about your grandparents? Do you remember anything about either one of your grandparents?
Yeah, we were pretty close. We were pretty close to family, and we used to go to their houses on weekends.
Where did they live
dinner.
From your home?
Well, now it's Van Buxel.
Buxel Road?
On Van Buxel. That's
Okay.
where my grandmother and my mother's side lived. And then it's out on Ray Road. That's where my other grandmother lived.
Did they both have farms?
No, they just had 2-acre lots from the tribe.
Do you remember what kind of work, the one that lived on Ray Road, what kind of work they did?
They done mostly logging.
Logging?
Logging work, yeah.
And the one on Van Boxer Road?
He was a logger too.
Or?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you Did you know if your grandparents were born in Wisconsin, or did they move from New York, do you know?
I never heard anything, but as far as I know, they were here.
Did they all talk Oneida?
My grandfather and my grandmother did on my mother's side, but my father's side didn't.
You don't know why, though, huh?
I think she's full-blooded, and he didn't speak it.
I see. Okay.
Hey, Gordy, we're going to change the shot, and we're going to...
Well, at least you got something to comb. Some people don't have any.
Yeah.
Tell me when, Gary.
We're good.
Okay. Where were we? We were talking about your... Tell me about your grandma. What do you remember when you think of your grandma?
Well, my grandmas didn't do much. They were pretty active. They'd go out in the woods, pick berries, and I remember that, taking us along, picking a lot of berries, and she's done a lot of canning, mostly homework.
She didn't work out at all, no?
No.
What church did they belong to?
And my dad's mother, she was a Methodist, and my mother's side was Episcopal.
So where did you go to church then?
We go to Methodist.
Methodist you went to? Okay. Now, what about your mother? Did she work out at all?
No, she didn't. No,
She just housework?
just housework.
Okay. Now, and your dad was, the time of your fire, when you had your fire, tell me a little bit about the fire. What happened? Was anybody home at the time, or?
Yeah, I had two younger brothers. He was a year old, and we were in school at the time. And what happened was we had a kerosene stove, and it started a fire.
So then you moved into what you call the.
Yeah, my dad was building a chicken coop, and so he just converted into making a house out of it, so he could come back home.
Well, during the fire, then you went to different families.
Yes, we all stayed at our uncles and aunts there.
Okay. And that was on. The fire was on H there.
Yes,
where
at the same address.
same ad. Okay. Tell me about when you were growing up. Then about when you started school. When do you remember starting school?
Well, I was 7 years old when I started right into first grade, and I went to 8th grade at Chicago Corners, and that was in '51. Then I went 1 year to Freedom High School. Then after that, I got a job. I got a job at a Hurlbut company in Green Bay.
Tell me what school was like at. It's called Chicago Corners at the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me what school was like at Chicago Corners. Was it a one room or two room or?
We had the basement. That was one classroom. Then we had 2 rooms upstairs.
Was that was it kindergarten or first grade through 8th grade?
Yeah.
About how many students would have been going to Chicago Corners at the time?
Oh, they had a school full. I forget how many.
Maybe 150?
Oh yeah, there's now that. Yeah.
Well, was it mostly Oneidas, or was there a lot of non?
We had a few farmers around there that were white, and their kids went. So we had a few. We're mostly Indian.
Do you remember your teachers' names?
Yeah, my first grade teacher was Mr. Kraft. Then when we went up into the higher grades, then we had Mrs. Ryan. Then we went to another grade higher. Then we had Mrs. Garvey.
Now tell me some of the activities that you used to have at school. Did you have things that you would compete with other schools around the area?
Yeah, we had baseball games every, I think it was Thursdays, and we'd go to different schools and play baseball.
No.
We were champions.
Oh, of course. But tell me how that would go. You would, let's say you'd be playing at Silver Summit.
Okay, we had to walk all the way up there.
Would the whole school go?
Yeah, the whole school would go up there.
But how many miles was that?
I would say about 3 miles.
About 3 miles.
But we went up to Idlewild too, and Seymour, toward Seymour, and we walked all the way there too. And that's about 6 miles.
So the whole school would be out Thursdays to go to a baseball game.
Yeah. And we went to Elm Hill, and that's about 10 miles. Yeah, we went to Elm Hill to go to.
What about anything besides baseball? Did you play in the wintertime? Did they have any games that they played?
Just snowball fights, I guess.
They didn't have no hockey where they'd
No.
go down and skate one school
No,
against
they
the
didn't
other.
have anything
No.
like that. No.
Just the baseball,
Baseball mostly.
huh? Okay. Now, after you finished the grade school, how was it set up for you to go to a different place? Did you have a choice where you could go?
No, we didn't. We had to go to Freedom at that time.
That was the territory that you were in.
Yeah.
How was that a big change when you went to Freedom?
Well, it was for me because I was used to going to Indian school, I think, and I had problems in school. That was the reason I left there, because it was a lot of fighting, and I don't know. Nowadays they call it prejudice. At that time, it was just fighting.
Just fighting. Well, do you think you had more problems with the students than you did with the school itself, learning?
Well, as far as the school was good. The teachers were good. It's the kids who.
Association with the kids. Huh?
Yeah.
There wasn't too many Indians going to school?
Well, most of the kids were from Chicago Corners.
And how many would you say would have been in that class? Do you remember their names?
Yeah.
What
There
was
was
their names?
Clyde Cornelius, Myron Smith, Edwin Nicholas, Eldred Nicholas. The girls were Kathleen Hilgenberg, there's Bertha Summers. That's about all I can think of right now. But there was more. There was more. I mean, there was quite a few.
I can remember Ralphie
Yeah.
Hilgenberg. Big little guy.
Yeah, I think he's in Seymour now.
Okay, then you left. You went to Freedom for a year or so. Then you left Freedom.
Well, I went just because I had to go till I was 16.
I see.
So I was 16 on the end of the year.
Okay.
So I left there, and then my dad said either go to school or go to work. So I went and looked for a job, and my older brother worked for Hurlbut,
Which older brother was that?
Norbert, and he told him I was 18. So they just told me to come to work and never asked me my age. And I was 16, I went to work. And I worked there for 2 years, and then I got laid off.
What
for the winter.
what kind of work was that?
Well, it was loading trucks, loading concrete blocks and sewer pipes on semis.
Herbert was a cement company?
Yeah,
I see. Okay.
and I drive the semis from the scale to the buildings, and I load them up, and I go back and scale them, and then the drivers would take them from there. So it's kind of like a stock man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you worked
Yeah,
there
they-
for how long?
about 2 years.
Then what'd you do?
Then I went, and then I got a job at the horseradish because I wasn't old enough to get a job.
Tell us about
Oh.
what that's all about.
Well, that was,
What,
well, at this time it was fun. I didn't mind that. It was hard work.
tell them,
What is that?
tell us about it, because a lot of people don't know what we're talking about.
Well, in the first part of the year, my
They
dad,
pick you up in what first?
yeah, they pick us up in a big cattle truck, and then they'd take us to Black Creek, and well, the work was, in the spring we'd have to pull weeds first. The women would do the planting. Then toward the summer, then we had to go and hoe them. And then we went and we had to pull them out then.
That's what they call
And
lifting horse
the
radish.
women, yeah, and then they'd take them into the shop, and then the women would pack the horseradish and for shipment.
There was a lot of Oneidas that worked out there.
Mostly that I know,
What time would they pick you up in the morning?
about 6 o'clock.
And they'd
Yeah,
bring
and I-
everybody back?
And
take you all up
they'd
there?
bring us back, yeah.
Okay.
Winter was the worst. It was cold on that truck. But otherwise, I didn't mind working there.
How long did you work there?
Well, I worked well off and on since I was about 14 years old. I worked there.
At Black Creek?
Yeah. Up till I was about 18.
Then where did you go?
Well, then after I left there, then I went to Gidding in Lewis and Kakana.
And what is that? Getting to?
That's a foundry, too.
And what did you do there?
Well, I done chipping and grinding.
What does that mean?
Well, when you're chipping and grinding, when you got the finished product, you take all the burrs and stuff off, and you make it ready for the use of it. Clean it, and yeah, they call it the cleaning room now. We used to call it chipping room. Call it the cleaning room. When we shipped it out, it was finished product. Then I went to, then I got a job in Neenah, and I worked there, and I done the cublos. The cublos,
What is
that's
that?
where they melt the iron. We cleaned the cublos out. We dumped the bottoms out after they got through the work, and then we'd redo it. So it started up for the next morning. Then we'd load it with iron and melt it for the day shift.
What would they? You'd load tubes with iron?
We load the cublo, they call it. It's like a big tube,
Uh-huh.
like a silo,
Oh,
and then they fill it with wood and what do you call it, charcoal, and then they put iron on top of it and fill it up and melt it.
and what would the finished product be when they'd melt it down?
Well, they made all different products. They mostly in cast iron.
For machinery then, huh?
Yeah, mostly machinery. Yeah.
Okay.
And De Pere, they made sewer covers, and I done that. Then I went into molding. So I got my experience at molding.
And this was in De Pere?
That was at Neenah.
At Neenah. Tell us a little about that. What does that constitute? What do you have to do?
Well, with molding,
Yeah.
molding is you got they call them presses, and you put the sand in the mold, in the mold, yeah, and then you press it, and then it comes out to the shape of the product.
You went to school for that?
No, I was on the job
on the
training,
job training?
but I got apprenticeship out of that. But I did that in Milwaukee. That was my experience. Then when I got married, when I was 21, then I went to Milwaukee.
See? What'd you do down in Milwaukee?
Well, it was kind of hard for me when I first started because I worked in a bowling alley. It's the only job I could find. And then I worked in a little, well, they were both the same day. I worked at night in the bowling alley. And then during the day I worked in a comic warehouse where they packed comic books and stuff. Then I went into working with in a warehouse with a little more money. I done a lot of odd jobs, like when I first went there. So then I got a job at the Mid-City Foundry. Then I was into doing the same thing I was at Nina, doing the molding, and that's where I got my experience and got molding apprenticeship in there. I worked there about 3 years, and then I went to International Harvester, and they hired me as a molder. Then they took me out of molding and put me into core making. Core making is practically the same, only that core making is you make the forms to put into the mold to make your shapes. That's a different kind of sand. It isn't dirty. That was a clean department. But they went out of business. See, where else did I work? Oh, I worked for Pelton Steel in Milwaukee. There too, I was doing the same thing there. I was doing core making there. I done mostly core making up till about 79. Then I left Milwaukee and I come back here.
Come back here. Okay, now let's stop right there. And when you came back from the time that you left, there must have been a lot of changes that you've seen.
Yeah, I didn't know a lot of people.
But going back now, when you started out, when you were living, when your house burnt down, at the time, did you have running water and
No.
no?
We had to carry our water.
And no electricity?
No. Oh, we had electricity.
Yeah.
Well, toward the end we had electricity. Yeah.
And what was the transportation like? Was the transportation good? Did your dad have a vehicle or just?
Well, I remember when I got my tonsils out, I must have been about 8 or 9. We had to use the horses to go to Oneida. Then we could take a bus to Green Bay. And then my dad had a car later. Yeah.
Now, did your parents speak Oneida to you at all?
Not my parents, no.
Just
My mother couldn't understand it. She lost it when she went to Haskell School.
well, she went to Haskell,
Yeah.
huh? Okay,
And she lost her language. But she could understand it, yeah.
let's see. But your dad spoke it.
No, he didn't.
He didn't.
He didn't do any.
Okay. Now, were your parents or your grandparents involved in any of the different societies around Oneida that you know of?
Yeah, they used to. Well, at first I thought they were like a business committee, because the older people would always have school meetings at the Chicago Corner schools. Like my dad and Philip Summers, Albert Webster, Julius Danforth, Isaiah Cornelius, Andy Summers. They always had big meetings, and then they raised money by the women would make social boxes, and the men would would bid on them, and then they had to eat with that woman. I remember those. So the men would have to make it 1 month, and the women would make it another month. Looked like fun. And they had dances too at the school in the basement. So they had, they were really involved. I see they didn't get no credit for it, but that's how they got the land, like we got our land. All these older men, who I talked about, that's how they got their land, is by organizing together. So that's why they're all in the same neighborhood.
What was that called? Is that what I hear them refer to as New Deal?
That was New Deal, yeah.
New Dealers?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what was the social life like that as you were coming up? Was Christmas hard times, or did you have?
No, because my dad always worked, and we always had pretty nice Christmas, that I remember. And our house burnt down right on Christmas too. You know, so that was about the only hardest part, I think. But then it was kind of nice too. Even Seymour Police, they brought their kids with presents, and their kids handed us presents from Seymour Police Department. I remember that. Yeah. And the whole neighborhood brought stuff. So it was kind of nice too.
Who were your neighbors at the time?
Well, we had Ed Skenandore, Jim Schuyler, John Danforth, Foster Cornelius, Klein Smith, we had Ray Moss, yeah, I think that covers that's just in our block.
In the area there.
In our block, yeah.
Now, what about if somebody got sick? How did your parents take care of that? They have any
We
medicines that they used? Indian
took
medicines?
care of ourselves. Yeah, we had some. Yeah.
Do you remember what they were?
I don't remember what they are. But my dad was, before he passed away, he used to use poison ivy. He used to cook poison ivy and garlic and milk, and he used to drink that. That was supposed to be for arthritis, and he had arthritis bad. And he how he made it, I don't know. But he mixed that, and he'd drink that every morning with a banana, he says. The banana lasts you all day, he says.
That's quite a combination.
Yeah. Yeah,
What
I
about
remember
what about the game? Was there a lot of game around at the time?
that. Like animals?
Mm-hmm.
Well, not that I noticed.
Did you hunt?
I used to hunt up to 5, 6 years ago. Yeah. And I like small game better than big game.
Did you do a lot of small game hunting at the time?
Yeah, at that time we did, yeah. Yeah, we used to take the 410s and go back in the woods. Well, the land around us, all these people cleared that. They cut the wood out of there. They took the trees out. Most of them farmers around us, Moss's farm, and down on 54, they got a big farm. We cleared all that when we were kids. We were clearing that. Now we'd sell the wood. They'd give us the wood, and then we'd cut it up and sell it.
Okay, tell me a little bit about this ice skating. I mean, and roller skating. I've never heard too much about that.
Yeah, at Vans Valley, they'd have people coming from De Pere and from Appleton, and they used to come in and compete with roller skating at Vans Valley.
And that was in the hall there?
That was in their dance hall, yeah. Then every weekend we had dances. Yeah, they used to do roller skating, and my dad done a lot of ice skating with us when we were kids. And he was up in his 50s because he didn't get married till he was 28. So,
Oh, I see.
so he was up in age when.
How old was your mother? Was she the same age?
No, she was about 10 years younger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, you never heard of, well, what, like the corn soup and the fry bread, not fry bread, but cornbread that your folks, or
Yeah,
your grandparents make a lot of that?
my dad did. Yeah, my grandparents did too. Yeah. But my dad made a lot of it, and he sold it right from the house. But he planted it. He'd plant about 25, 30 acres.
I know everybody used to go over there to get their white corn.
Yeah, right. People would come from Milwaukee on holidays, and they'd pick up their corn. And he always had orders for corn.
Well, did you boys have to help? But
We done most of it. Yeah,
what about making corn? Did you learn how to make the corn soup?
yeah, we learned how. And toward the last there, he started making. He'd take it and make flour with it. In Seymour, he'd have it made into flour. And then he started making bread with that.
Did you learn how to make
Yeah.
the bread?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you still make it?
Well, it's been a while now since I done it.
But you know how to do it.
I probably would, yeah.
How does this bread taste that they make now compared to what your dad made?
Well, Seymour, Oneida cannery, learnt by my dad.
Did they?
Yeah, they used to buy their corn from my dad, and they got receipts from my dad, and he'd take them and he showed them how to.
So it tastes pretty close to it, huh?
Yeah, they're pretty close. Yeah.
When you think about it in the neighborhood, where did your dad go to shop when he had to?
Oh, he wouldn't go too far into town. He'd just go into the edge of Green Bay.
He went to Green Bay to shop?
Yeah.
As opposed to De Pere or Seymour?
Yeah, he used to go to co-op mostly to De Pere.
Now, tell me the first vehicle that you used to have. You remember that one?
Well, my first one was my dad gave me one when I was 16. He gave me his old car. The transmission was shot. It was a 1934 Hudson Turpling.
Well, if the transmission was shot, what did you do with it?
Well, we took the old one out and changed it, put a different one in. And we got it going. Yeah. Then my other brothers, they had Model A's. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, your older brothers were gone away to school at the time when.
They went to service right after school. They went to. Went to service.
So the ones at home were just you and.
Just me and Larry, Gordy, and Gerald. Yeah.
So you were pretty much responsible for those boys, huh?
Well, my sister took care of us mostly.
See?
Yeah, she stayed with us most of the time.
You mentioned that there was somebody that was like a foster parent to you.
Oh, it was my stepmother. Yeah.
And what was her name?
Her name was Evelyn Webster Skenandore. And they were married about 20 years, and she died with pneumonia. So.
Okay, let's move back to. You came back from Milwaukee. And tell me what you did when you moved back from Milwaukee.
Well, when I moved back in Milwaukee, from Milwaukee, that was in 72. And then in 73, I got a job in De Pere Foundry. And then I worked there till 76, and they went out of business. Now it's Bay Engineer Casting. Then when I got laid off, then I went to the tribe, and I got in carpenter training. We helped them build the old bingo building, the first one. We built that. And then we took all these old log houses and we took the tops off and we put all new roofs on.
Can you tell me where those were located?
Oh, we had one. There's 3 on H.
Whose homes were they, do you remember?
Casper Hill owned one,
Down by,
and then Evelyn Danford owned one. Her sister, I can't think of her name. Down by Julius Summers. And we had some Lloyd Skenandore, Overland Road. I believe we got one on you. Yes. Yeah, there was one on Double E. The building's gone now. On Van Boxwell, we had one.
these are all log cabin homes?
These are where my grandmother lived. Now they're replaced with the tribe built new house there. That was where my grandmother lived. Then we lived, then one on Ray Road where my grandmother lived. I think that's all I can remember.
Okay. Then what project did you work on then?
Well, what they were learning us mostly is doing framework. We were doing framing. So we were putting the roofs on and windows in, mostly on the training part. But the boards and that, we just put it all up. That's how I got to build my house. I built my house alone.
Where's that located?
That's on this address of H.
Oh, the same place?
Yeah, I built that.
Oh, okay. After you finished the carpenter work, did you go out and
Well,
work, or did you stay with the tribe?
No, after I got laid off there, when we got done with the bingo building, and I got laid off there, and then I went to the health center. And I was working there on 20 hours a week. It was permanent temporary, they call it. And I worked there for 2 years. Then I transferred to Norbert Hill Center. That was in '84. Then I've been there since.
Since 1984?
Yeah.
That's quite a while, just working at the Norbert Hill Center.
Yeah, if you think about it, yeah.
And what do you do there?
I'm a custodian.
That's where I recognize you from. I think we videotaped you waxing a floor one time. Did we
They,
do that?
they took some pictures.
Yeah, that was us. See, he looks familiar.
All those skin doors look alike, you know. Oh, tell me, as you were growing up, did you have any hobbies that you used to do, or like to?
Well, I used to play baseball with the Oneida Braves.
Where were they located? CC camp?
They're at the CC camp, yeah.
Tell me a little about that. Who were the ball players that you played with, and who did you play against?
Well, we played all the areas, Navarino, Clintonville, De Pere, Denmark, all in the area places, Swamco.
Who were some of the ones on your team?
Well, Billy Danford was kind of the organizer, and he was a pitcher for a while. Then his brother Tony took his place. He was younger, and a lot of them was like Sonny King and Harold and what else used to play in there? Ezra Charles, they call him? Ezra Charles. These are the older people. They call him Buster King. Yeah, I played with all those guys. Then my brother, he come in then. He was a pitcher there for a while. His name is Larry. He was a pitcher on that. What do I remember on that?
What position did you play?
I played outfield and the left outfield.
What other sports or hobbies that you might have had? You said you were
Well,
a
I
skater?
had bowling. I had bowling.
Bowling?
In Milwaukee, I had done bowling, yeah. We were on a league in bowling. After I got back here, though, I haven't been doing much of anything. There isn't too many organizations here, what they should have.
Oh, you're also telling me that, how many children did you say you had?
I got 3 from my first wife, and then I have 2 adopted ones right now.
And you got what besides that? How many grandchildren?
Well, then I got 13 grandchildren and 2 great-great-grandchildren.
So you got a house full, huh?
Well, I would have when they come home.
When they come over, this
Well, they come Christmas.
Mhm.
Yeah, I have a house full, yeah.
it keeps you busy then.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We rent to Santa Claus.
What do you know about the 52 cents a year that they used to get?
Well, we didn't get it because they always paid the parents. But we knew we were getting it.
What was it for?
I really don't know.
I'm gonna
Just-
change batteries real quick here. We're good.
What about Hoyan? Did you ever go Hoyaning?
Well, yeah, we used to do a lot of that. When we
Tell
were
me
kids,
about what that's about.
Well, it's just about like Halloween. You didn't wear no mask or anything, but you went door to door and just sang carols and yelled Hoyan, and you got donuts. And some of the older women would take you in and give you a glass of milk and donuts and let you warm up. And we'd go around the whole neighborhood.
Do you know why you did it?
I never was asked that question. I don't know. It was just the thing they always had, I guess.
Something they always did.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you follow any of the tribal operations and programs and politics at this point?
I try sometimes, but I don't know. It seems like I'm always put back. I mean, I try once in a while.
Okay.
I don't like to bring the word prejudice up. I don't like that word, you know, because somebody mentions it to me and I will say, well, then I hate my grandmother.
What kind of advice would you give to the young people that are coming behind you?
One thing, they ain't got no entertainment. They don't have anything. Entertainment, they don't have. And like I said before, it's kind of separated. The tribe is separated. You know, like you take, like Chicago Corners, I'll say there's a dividing line between Allegheny County and Brown County. That's the way I always call it. They're so different. We're treated different.
You mean from one end to the other?
Yeah. So there's a problem there. Like we're getting the people that was in Brown County before, and we're getting them in Allegheny County. They don't get along with the people out there in Allegheny County.
Is that just happening now, or has that
Yeah.
been that way a long time?
Oh, it's been like that. It's been like that, yeah. We had to fight our way into Oneida. If we went to one dance in Oneida, we'd get in a fight. You know, I mean, gang, but not like they do today. I mean, if you fell down, you were licked, you know, and that was it. And if they come up to our dances, it was the same thing. So, and pretty soon they just, as they got older, they just got together. But it's still the same way.
Well, if you could help them change and make things different, what kind of recommendations would you do? What if you had the ability to do it, what would you change? Or make things more entertainment, you said.
I'm always trying to think of that. And I'm always trying to think of a way to do it. It's a lot of it is communication, attitudes, you know, again, the people.
You mean something like maybe more, you spoke of the roller skating. Maybe that would be something that would help
That
to
would
get
be
them together.
something,
you
yeah.
know?
And get everybody involved. You know, like even they come from De Pere or Seymour, you know. Like when we had CC camp picnics, and I remember when we were kids, man, you couldn't find a parking place less than 5 miles out there.
Tell us about that. What do you remember of a picnic in the CC camp? Well, first of all, where is the CC camp? Some people don't
That's
know.
a Site 2. That's at Site 2 now. That was one big park. They had a bandstand up there. Well, it's been for years. It just rotted out. But they had bands there. They had baseball games there. They had bingo there. They had, and just little rides for kids, like a fair. It was more like a fair for kids. Now that was a good gathering. I mean, we had people from all over. It's almost like that Powell when it was a picnic. They had free food too. You didn't have to buy anything.
So you'd like to see more of that.
Well, at that time it was fun. It would be nice to try something like that. They had it every summer. We had it every summer. I think that was in July too.
Well, during the powwow, does that increase your workload?
No, not us. We're off. Yeah. Well, we work, but we don't have anything to do with the powwow.
I see.
We're just in the building because we just do the classrooms and offices.
Is there anything I missed? Tried to cover everything you had on your paper. Tried to cover the story of your life in 10 easy words. All I remember is I can remember you having long fields by your house, or picking beans and cucumbers,
Yeah, we done a lot of that. Yeah.
snapping corn. $3 a day.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, and my dad would give us the weekends off, so we had the weekends off, and so we used to the farmers would come over and ask us if we wanted the job, so we'd go over and baled hay on the weekends, and for $3 a day we'd go early in the morning and work till dark. And we worked almost every summer like that. And then we'd buy our own bicycle. We
Make
had to
your
go to
fair
the
money.
fair. If we wanted to go to the fair, we had our own money. So we learned a little about savings that way anyway too. And so it was a good thing.
Well, I want to thank you, Glenn.